Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse for Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Stellantis in general are not selling vehicles. They're struggling to unload vehicles off the lot. We're seeing inventory, lots of Dodge Rams, Durangos. We're also seeing lots of Jeeps. Here's a base model right here. Base model Jeep. This is the cheapest you can get for a current Wrangler. Now, recent months, they've tried to incentivize and get more people in the door, but the reality is a lot of people are not accustomed to these extraordinarily high prices. It's a pretty looking unit. That's a 4xe, all dressed up to the nines, all dressed up and really no place to go because it's not going anywhere. I mean, right here we see the sticker in here, the Monroney, and what's it telling us? Well, pretty good options list right here, as we can see, but $85,655, $86,000 for this unit. $86,000. Sure, it's a hybrid. Sure, you get that extra spare tire, but my goodness, that's big money. And because of some of the lack of buying and because of all this extra inventory, unlike some of their peers, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, Stellantis in general cannot sell vehicles. Well, if you don't sell vehicles and you're in the market of vehicle selling, guess what? What's next? Cost cuttings. And sadly enough, the carnage continues. And what we're seeing now is today literally is that Stellantis is unloading 400 workers from their engineering and technology departments to relieve about 2% of the workforce in order to save up some extra funds because, in fact, Stellantis has these visions of the electric vehicle marketplace to double their revenue in a few short years up to 300 million euros. And while we see Dodge Rams that definitely have a lot to offer, they're a great pickup truck, they can do a lot of pickup truck duty, the fact remains is a lot of people don't have the gall and the gumption to actually reach down deep into their pockets and spend the kind of money that you want for a new Dodge Ram. A half-ton pickup truck, $94,000. So some of these trucks can cost a huge amount of money. For example, well, looking in here, honestly, I've seen trucks as high as $150,000, $160,000. I've seen Wranglers here as much as almost 140 grand, all before taxes. I'm seeing the Grand Wagoneers up about 140 grand. So these are like, I mean, these are serious dollars. But conversely, what's starting to happen now, after looking here and checking online, I'm starting to see the fact that what they're doing is hammering some incentives. You're seeing sticker and then you're seeing like a discount. I'm seeing 5 grand, 10 grand. I even saw one in there that's $20,000 marked off. So clearly that tells me that there's a lot of opportunities here. If you like the brand and you were planning on buying something anyhow, I would suggest this is probably some time to maybe take a look and see if you can wrangle up a deal. Pardon the pun. And then we even think about some of their little SUVs. For example, they got rid of the Cherokee because nobody wanted that vehicle anymore and they decided to discontinue that market because it just wasn't selling. But what about the Compass? Well, that's their small diminutive size subcompact SUV that does not feel like it's adding a lot of value when you look at what you're getting, the cost it's costing you, and as well when you have a look at some of the strong competitors from the CR-V, from Honda, as well as Toyota RAV4, why would anybody even consider looking at a Jeep Compass? But here's an example of how much those things cost. But we know Grand Cherokees as well as Wranglers get all the airtime. What about a vehicle like this and the Compass? I mean, there's just some people that want a small SUV like this that just fits the bill. They don't have a ton of money to spend, but they wanted to get into something with the branding, and this might represent that price tag. Well, let's take a look here. Compass North 4x4, and we have a price tag of $41,590. But there's another one right over here. This one's a little bit more dialed in. You can see it's a little bit more dressed up. And this one here is a Compass Altitude 4x4, and this one is listed at $47,260. Wow, 50 grand plus extras plus taxes. You're out the door $55,000, $60,000 for this little rig. No wonder people aren't buying. And for those people that truly believe that Jeep Wrangler is the all-encompassing body and embodiment of what Jeep should actually be, I personally owned a Jeep myself many years ago at TJ. It was a 5-speed or 6-speed manual with a straight inline 6 4-liter naturally aspirated engine. It was a literal workhorse, a great Jeep, but things have evolved and prices have grossly evolved, and to the point where people can't even afford to drive a middle-class type vehicle like that. Jeep was meant to be very utilitarian, basic, square box, definitely made for off-roading, beating it up, and it's all about being able to afford the off-road experience for pennies on the dollar. If you don't have the Range Rover, you don't want to step up to Land Cruisers, then your next option was always to go with the Jeep, a great off-roading option. But Jeep and Ram and Stellantis in general have upped their pricing to the point where it's now for literally the rich. Now, essentially today, a lot of these workers in this department, the white-collar workers, if you will, got the marching orders that it's a work-from-home day today, and it's one of those days, take a day at home. Take all your tools, take all the equipment you need, and take all your paperwork and your laptops. Go sit home, we'll get a hold of you. You don't need to call us, we'll call you. Trust me, we'll call you. But in the midst of all of this smoke and mirrors of work from home, that's right, 2% of that workforce is literally gone. And especially March 31st seems to be the number that they're saying it's going to be all over but the crying. So I actually heard workers ask the question, why am I getting let go? This is not good timing. Economy's rough, cost of living's high, I've got mortgage payments, I got car payments. Why are you letting me go? I've heard these comments while they're being said as quoted, unprecedented uncertainties. Yeah, in other words, unprecedented uncertainties represent a conversation. Yeah, they want to build their electric vehicle space. They're trying to market that. But unfortunately, they have nowhere to go up in selling their vehicles for more money. And all they can do is go down. But with the cost invested in these vehicles, in the workforce, in their current business model, means that they're no longer sustainable and they're having to make some aggressive changes just to stay afloat. And so Stellantis executives actually said, well, it's a very difficult time and we feel for all the friends, families, relatives, and folks impacted directly by these layoffs and these firings. We have to have a laser focus on our future. And that's our Dare Forward 2030 strategic plan. About developing further enhancements on the electric vehicle market to be competitive. They're looking at the Challengers and the Chargers already being electrified, and as well adding some sort of electrification to the Ram as we know it today. Not just the Ram Charger, but to develop and enhance the product line completely. And so you as a buyer or shopper of one of these new Stellantis products, Ram, Jeep, Chrysler products, I mean, just look down the car lots and you're going to see a lot of inventory available for the buying. Now, you're probably also going to get some extreme deals. If you really dig in and you really sharpen your pencils, you might be able to get yourself a phenomenal buy here coming up very, very soon. Like right here, for example. Let's take another look. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, this one's 66 grand. That's talking a little bit, still kind of pricey. We're dealing with 4x4. This is a pretty standard looking unit. Nothing too crazy going on here. This is a Grand Cherokee, as you see right here. They've got some glossy rims on there. It's a good looking unit, but it's clearly not where people are still paying. Given especially since this isn't the first bout of carnage that Ram, Stellantis, Jeep have actually experienced. Remember last year, a collective total of half of the total workforce of 12,700 were let go with packages in an effort to reduce costs and move towards the EV future, as well as to compensate for the offset decay factor that they have to now supply for the updated contracts for the UAW strike that we experienced last year too. Sadly, this all reaffirms that the people get caught up in the weeds and tangled in this mess are often you and I, the middle class, the people that end up stuck working for these giant corporations. It's always the head honchos at the top, the CEOs that are playing us like a bunch of chess pieces, and we're often the pieces falling out through the bottom. And this is what's unfortunately happening. People just trying to go to work, earn a decent living for their friends and family, and then of course on the flip side, they're trying to go out and buy that new vehicle, but they don't have enough money because they're not getting paid adequately. They can't afford that new vehicle, prices are going up, and now insult to injury, they're kicking a lot of these hard-working individuals to the curbside. Just a terrible time of events. And with all of that said, be sure to check that out. What's going on? Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Stellantis, brutal sales are causing the CEO to respond. Hope to see each and every one on the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.